Okay. Hello and welcome to everyone this evening. This action-packed evening, should I add? Around apprenticeships. And for those obviously watching back, we will be recording the event for those special requests that we have had. And I'd just like to say a massive thank you to all the contractors and also our provider organisations. And in particular, if I may, Olivia, Lancashire South Cumbria ICB Primary Care Training Hub, the Apprenticeships Manager. Also at Buttercups, we have Will, the Business Development Manager. And also Amarjit Singh, one of our own contractors, in fact, in Preston, the MD of Skills for Pharmacy. So without further ado, let's kick off with the presentation. We'll just share the screen. We'll put that on full screen for everyone for ease. Okie doke, right. So to start off then, if we can, a broad outline of the agenda. Following the welcoming introductions, we'll go through, and Olivia will take us through the baseline around apprenticeships, the types and how to apply. And then we'll go over across to Buttercups for a provider overview, support, and the key sort of themes and messages. After which, we will hand over to Skills for Pharmacy team, who again will take us through the provider overview, the support that they have, and the sort of key messages. And at the very end, we shall also have an open question and answer session. But as you can see on the slide there, please also utilize the chat function throughout the sessions for any sort of comments, any bits of feedback, or any particular questions. And we will certainly cover those off for you at the end of the sessions that we will be covering today. And as you can probably realize, it's really important in this current sort of climate that we are in as a pharmacy, in this world of pharmacy, ever-changing world of pharmacy, in fact, where we have pressures, rising costs, capacity issues. I think skill mix in particular is going to be absolutely critical and crucial for us, if it isn't already, in fact, as we progress. So therefore, at CPLSC, we are really keen to ensure sort of our contractors and can have a real sustainable businesses, but at the same point, utilize that skill mix to look at nurturing and retaining our teams for our future across our footprint and ensure we are able to retain the very best people. And for that reason, a massive thanks to our providers who are going to take us through the master options and points that they have to take us through that today. So without further ado, if I could hand over straight to Olivia to kick us off. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm Olivia Murphy. I'm the Apprenticeships Manager at Lancashire and South Cumbria Primary Care Training Hub. So just really quickly for ease, I've added all our key information on here. So you've got a link to our website, our main apprenticeship email address, my telephone number, and then there's also key colleagues contacts there just should you want them for pharmacy related inquiries. So for example, practice education facilitator, your wellbeing champion as well. Next slide, please. So this is just a bit of background about where we sit as obviously a training hub and how we assist. So a lot of the work that we do is around representation. So that is across Lancashire and South Cumbria ICB priorities and initiatives, and we obviously get informed of procurement options, funding options, and we do a lot of work around trying to support and increase options for levy transfers which relate to apprenticeships and apprenticeship opportunities for yourselves as well. Another massive part of our role is supporting individual employers with apprenticeship options and applying for the apprenticeships as well. So we do provide that advice like today, but we also provide you with the support when you're applying and then when you have an active apprentice. So you'll get lots of support through the training providers as well, and various people, but we will support throughout should there be anything that, for example, it's primary care related, the training hub might be able to assist yourself and the training provider with. So if you do have any questions or inquiries, please do keep us linked in. We do obviously report as well, and being aware of activity really does help us then with things like supporting strategic initiatives across the ICB. Next slide, please. So I've just put this together just as an overview. They are very brief, these slides, and purely because it's really nice that they are now a lot more brief is because we've done a lot of work on our website. So we've created a training hub apprenticeship comparison tool, and it's actually just coming up to its 1 year of being live. So that does cover, at the minute, there's 100 live apprenticeship options on that tool. And after today as well, we'll be adding even more to it. So you will soon see even more pharmacy related options on there. Initially, when we've been collecting program information, it's really been on a reactive basis. I'm really hoping things like today's session, once you make more inquiries, express interest with ourselves, we can then look into and support you even further. But we will be making work to make sure that the key provider information is on there soon, if it's not already. So we've just outlined some of the kind of key apprenticeship options, and I wanted to do that just for you to see that there is a wide variety of roles that are available for apprenticeship. So it's mainly for, at the moment, across primary care, current staff development, but it's absolutely also available for new recruit apprenticeships as well. So examples include pharmacy services assistant, pharmacy technician, various leadership and management options, and various business functions as well, so like business admin, data. And we also have other opportunities that we've just added. So for example, the first sustainability apprenticeship as well. So it really does cover a wide variety of roles through apprenticeship work, which is great. I do want to point out that at the moment, we've been advised that there might not be immediate future opportunities through the pharmacy technician training grant, which there has been in the past. But we are hoping, obviously ourselves, we will keep an eye on that, and we will let anybody who's inquired know directly, or we do advertise any funding options on our website or directly through our weekly updates as well, direct to employers. So if you don't already receive anything like that, just send me an email and I can make sure that you're added onto it. But I did just want to update today on this webinar that at the moment there isn't expected continuation of that training grant. It has come to an end at the moment. So in terms of then other support in terms of finance, there is always the option for apprenticeships to be supported through the tuition element. So that's the cost for the programme itself. And we have really good support through the NHSE Northwest Levy Transfer team, who do a really great job of securing 100% levy transfers, which cover 100% of the tuition. There is instructions on how to go about that, and it's not guaranteed, but it has been really successful. So we, like this is an example of how we help, we'll guide you on when to do that, how to do that, what options are available for you. Next slide, please. And then this is just some details on how to apply and the usual process. And again, it just outlines kind of where we help. So we do a lot of things on behalf of the employer. So for example, you'll submit an expression of interest form initially to myself. So I'll review that and make sure there's not any like key concerns of why you might not be able to apply for the programme, and we'll guide you and support you on anything that you need to achieve that where possible. And then we will then link you directly to the training provider so that you can then have that one-on-one relationship building and working through their application process. And then we'll just support you with the things like the levy transfer, your contracting under the procurement, that kind of thing. So we do have as well now a process guide, which is the main purpose for this slide really is to highlight that. So it's definitely worth for those employees who aren't familiar with the apprenticeship process, or even if you feel like you are, if you've done it a couple of times, there are always some like changes. So do use that to help guide you through it and be confident on whose responsibility it is, and also the support that's available. It's the main reason why we put it together for you to see all like our guides and who can help with what. So I really do hope you make use of all those tools. Thank you.
Very much appreciated, Olivia. And we'll probably just highlight as well, there's some key links, key contacts. What we will do, if we don't capture in the chat function, we will circulate to all those key contacts and information out to all after the event. And of course, it's a recorded event, so you can always watch back and pause in whichever section you so wish. Okay, on to Buttercups, if we may.
Thank you very much. I'm Manisha Manoharan, and I'm the Business Development Assistant, and I have my colleague Will, who is the Business Development Manager. So the presentation will... This presentation will pretty much toggle between the two of us. Can I have the next slide, please? Firstly, thank you for the opportunity. And before we go into the details about the different apprenticeship programs that we offer, I wanted to introduce what Buttercups is to you, to just touch upon some of our key highlights. Firstly, we have been in the industry of training for 35 years now. So that brings a lot of experience that we carry, and we are accredited by the GPHC, approved by Salisbury Management Procurement Service, rated good providers with 2 domains outstanding by Ofsted. And on top of that, we offer functional skills training. We don't need you to release your learner on any form of blocks or day. There's no day release. There's absolutely 100% learning from the workplace. All our training courses are based on blended learning. There's extensive learner support, and our enrollments are always roll on, roll off, which means year-round enrollments are available. And you, as the employer, get to track progress in real time. So that is pretty much what we do. That is an overview. The next slide, please. And quickly to touch upon our values, we believe that we're a family. So when you get into our family circle, we take care of you like family, and we play by the rules. Professionalism is key. We are constantly innovating, and we are constantly ahead of the game. And we believe in integrity and keeping you safe, keeping the learner safe. It is a beautiful congregation of relationships that we've built with every single person who's come into our system. So we thrive because of our values. Next slide, please. So our parents group currently is the BPP Education Group, which is a global leader in professional and vocational education with a massive vision of building careers through education, and we're very proud to be a part of them. Next slide, please. Well, just a little bit of benefits of apprenticeships in general is as most of you might already know, it's a great way to upskill and diversify your workforce. And every apprenticeship that you put your learner on is accredited. It is compliant with industry standards. There's 100% hands-on learning in the workplace, no day release, like I mentioned earlier. Great use of your levy funds, all of that fund that you've stocked up, use them. And you also have opportunities to get fully funded apprenticeships for 16 to 21 years old. And the more people are upskilled and the more you diversify your workforce, the employee satisfaction and retention rate increases. And you are also able to enhance your talent pipeline across the business. Next slide, please. So we do offer a number of apprenticeships, but I will let my colleague Will take over from here.
Thank you very much, Manisha, and hello everyone. And Mubashir, thank you for hosting and for having us. So we're going to go through fairly quickly a few of our apprenticeship offerings. Obviously, we're joined here by Skills for Pharmacy as well. You've got the 2 largest pharmacy training providers in the UK here, so you're in very good company and you're in safe hands. So I'm going to talk briefly about our Level 2 Pharmacy Services Assistant Apprenticeship, our Level 3 Pharmacy Technician Training Programme on the apprenticeship pathway. There's the Level 3 Community Health and Wellbeing Worker Apprenticeship, which you may be aware of, but possibly not if you're primarily in a pharmacy setting. And then a very recent launch of ours, which I think was 2 weeks ago, we announced the launch of our Level 6 Enhanced Clinical Practitioner Apprenticeship for Pharmacy Technicians as well. So if I could have the next slide, please. We'll start with the Level 2 Pharmacy Services Assistant Apprenticeship. So our accreditation is with the GPHC, as you would expect for a Level 2 qualification. They will receive a dispensing assistant qualification here, and we can bolt on additional qualifications as required. For example, if they need medicines counter assistant, we can have that bolted on as well. Duration is 12 months, typically with a 3-month window for what's called endpoint assessment at the end. If you're familiar with apprenticeships, you'll already know how this works, but if not, there'll be an external endpoint assessment organisation which will carry out the assessment at the end of the course before awarding the qualification. The levy band, so if you're an apprenticeship levy payer, is a maximum of £5,000 for the Pharmacy Services Assistant Apprenticeship. And if you are a non-levy payer, there'll be an employer contribution of up to £250. But as Olivia mentioned earlier, there is options for fully funded places and for levy transfer from larger employers. So that's something that obviously the Training Hub themselves will support, and we can help to facilitate those conversations as well for you. The apprenticeship is listed on the Salisbury Managed Procurement Services framework, so you can have the assurance and we can contract through there if that's where you subscribe. So for a short program overview, this will be the same in terms of the learning outcomes. So all training providers will follow the learning outcomes from the apprenticeship standard, which are centered around the learning areas of dispensing and supply of medicines and medicinal products, teamwork, communication, pharmacy law and ethics, person-centered care, health and safety in the workplace. So you'll see a lot of these themes will continue throughout the courses. And the way that we work, as Manisha mentioned earlier on in the slides, is on a blended learning model. So lots of different learning methods depending on the learner for a start, and also to make sure that everyone who learns in different ways has an opportunity to experience lots of different variety, I suppose. And completion of the qualification, learners will receive a PSA, Pharmacy Services Assistant Apprenticeship Certificate, which is issued by the government, in addition to Buttercup's issued Dispensing Assistant qualification, which will be accredited by the GPHC. So if I could have the next slide, please. So moving on to our Pharmacy Technician Training Programme, or PTTP, as you'll hear it referred to, not to be confused with PTPT, which will be the role. This is a Level 3 qualification, which I'm sure a majority of you are probably already familiar with. We run an apprenticeship and a non-apprenticeship version of this course. So if anyone is ineligible for the apprenticeship funding for whatever reason, we do have an alternative, but we'll focus on the apprenticeship for now. Obviously, we'll be happy to have those conversations separately with anyone if we need to. Duration is 24 months, and this one does not have an external endpoint assessment. It's what's called an integrated apprenticeship, which means that as the training provider, we can provide that endpoint assessment, which is integrated within the program, so it's not going to be carried out by external examiners. The levy band for this one is £8,000. So again, that will be drawn down from your levy account if you pay into an apprenticeship levy. And for non-levy, the non-levy employer contribution will be up to £400. And again, there are other fully funded options available, which you can speak to Olivia about, or you can contact our team to speak about those as well. As before, the qualification is accredited by the GPHC, and this is also on the Salisbury Managed Procurement Services. Okay, have the next slide, please. So the programme meets all of the learning outcomes of the GPHC's Initial Education Training Standards for Pharmacy Technicians, and also aligns to the apprenticeship standard. So it essentially aligns to the GPHC requirements that they require for pharmacy technicians and the government, the IFATE government apprenticeship rules. So there are 10 duties within the apprenticeship standard, and we have a modular program which basically meets all of those standards and ensures that those learning outcomes are met. So as I mentioned before, learners will undertake an endpoint assessment, but this won't be carried out by an external organisation in this instance for this qualification. And the EPA involves a validation of the portfolio. So it won't be the learner's tutor that's carrying this out. It'll be external in the sense that it'll be other members that will carry out that EPA. And then on completion, similar to the level 2 apprenticeship, the pharmacy technician integrated apprenticeship certificate issued by the SFA, and a Buttercups training certificate will be received as well, which again will be accredited by the General Pharmaceutical Council. So moving on to one that's slightly different, and again we will make sure that we work with you to see if this is an option for you. This will be particularly interesting for you if you have any social prescribers, health and wellbeing coaches, care coordinators or navigators. So it's quite a broad apprenticeship which covers a lot of different areas, and we're starting to see that touch pharmacy now with the context that people have. So it's level 3 qualification, accredited by the Personalised Care Institute, and again this is a 12-month apprenticeship with a 3-month window for EPA, similar to the level 2 pharmacy apprenticeship. Levy band of £7,000 and non-levy employer contribution of £350. I did see one of the questions come in on the side there, so I'll just preempt that. You'll be an apprenticeship levy payer if you have a wage bill of £3 million or over pounds per year. You are likely to then pay into an apprenticeship levy. That money is then ring-fenced to spend only on apprenticeships currently. I know this talks about changes to this. Anyone with less than £3 million wage bill a year is most likely to be a non-levy payer, and they will pay the employer contribution unless it's fully funded. So I hope that explains, but we can obviously expand on this within the question and answer session as well. Next slide, please. Sorry, if you could just click through so it shows the full slide here, if that's all right. There's 4 sections altogether. So I know these are going to be circulated at the end, so I won't go into too much detail, but this is the things that you see on screen now are the overall purpose of the qualification. They're the learning outcomes that it meets. And go to the next slide, please. And again, you might need to just click through to open those up for me. Thank you, Mubasher, appreciated. So to offer person-centred care, manage data and maintain records, increase accessibility of health services, and impact community health through a volunteering project. So it's essentially about placing people in a position where they can identify and address local health and wellbeing needs of their community. And the next slide, please. Brief overview of this then. It's appropriate for social prescribing link workers, community connectors, care navigators. You can see all of them listed there, and it's by no means limited to this. There are many roles that it can apply to, and as I say, we're just starting to see interest in pharmacy in this apprenticeship as well. So as with the other apprenticeships, it aligns to the duties which are within the apprenticeship standard. And learners will undertake an endpoint assessment for this as well. This is back to being an external endpoint assessment carried out by an endpoint assessment organisation. The next slide, please. And then as I say, the more exciting news is that we launched this apprenticeship a couple of weeks ago, and we're going to start taking our first learners in September. It's been really well received so far. I've just come back from holiday, but I'm sure by Manisha that we've had a great response across social media and with our network so far. So this is a post-registration apprenticeship for registered pharmacy technicians. So it's you may be aware that we launched a level 4 enhanced practice program 18 months, 2 years ago, which has been really well received as a post-registration option. And one of the main pieces of feedback that we had was that it was that there was no funding attached to it. So we're really excited to announce that we now have a post-registration option. It's level 6 but non-degree, which then comes with apprenticeship funding as well. So the duration of this one, the typical duration will be 15 months plus a 3-month window for the endpoint assessment. The levy band, so for those larger levy employers, will be £7,000 drawn down from your apprenticeship levy, and the non-levy contribution will be £350. And sorry to sound like a broken record, fully funded places are available, so get in touch with Olivia or ourselves for that. So as I mentioned, it's a level 6, but it's a non-degree level 6 qualification, specifically designed for pharmacy technicians working in a clinical setting, so working in a clinical role. It again lines to the duties that are within the apprenticeship standard, and I think Manisha has just posted a link for us. So this is the link to our website, so you can read further information on this new offering, and through there you can also see a link to the apprenticeship standard itself, so you can see the kind of parameters of the role. And obviously it does apply to different registered professions, but we're specifically focusing on the pharmacy technician one and sticking within that pharmacy sphere. And then on completion, as with the other ones, you'll receive an apprenticeship certificate issued by the government as an enhanced clinical practitioner. And the next slide, please. So I'm going to pass back over to, I'm going to pass back over to Manisha for this slide. She's going to go through a little bit about how we deliver.
Thank you, Will. Now to talk about how we deliver our training courses and apprenticeships through blended learning. Our content, all of our course content, is developed by industry and subject matter experts, and we deliver through a combination of the virtual classrooms, tutor-led sessions, e-learning modules, virtual pharmacy, and expert videos on our bespoke online learning platform called the Beehive. And every learner is supported by a designated workplace training supervisor and an allocated Buttercups tutor who offer one-to-one support. And we also provide an individual training plan, which is flexible, which is tailor-made for each particular learner. And it contains different periods and tasks that the learner would need to do, including their off-the-job training. Next slide, please. So yes, that is the ITP, or the individual training plan. And any queries that the learner or the WTS may have, they always have access to one of our Buttercups tutors. And it is agreed upon between the learner and the tutor. And like I said, it's tailor-made for each learner. Next slide, please. And coming to the off-the-job training, there are different tasks and activities that the learner can record as part of their apprenticeship journey as their off-the-job training. And each ITP will have specific number of hours and minutes that the learner might need to chip in as part of their off-the-job training. And there's constant support. There's a lot of resources and guidance that we offer. One-to-one tutor support. So that is something that we believe in. And like I said earlier, you're like a family. We are like a family. So a learner is a family member, and we want to offer one-to-one support to them. Next slide, please. So yes, I am going to take a break and pass it back to Will.
Okay, thank you, Manisha. So we're just going to go through. I know Olivia showed us that flow chart of how the applications work. So now I just wanted to give a bit of an overview of how this works from our side as the training provider. So as we mentioned earlier, as Manisha mentioned earlier, we accept enrolments all year round. We don't have any kind of set days where we'll start an apprentice. As soon as they get to the end of the enrolment process is the date that we can give them to start on program. 2 parts to the onboarding process. The learner onboarding and the workplace training supervisor onboarding. So that's a designated person who will be supervising the learner from the workplace, usually their line manager. And each of these 2 parts to the onboarding have 3 stages to them. So if we go to the next slide, please. So we split this into forms, screening, and skill scan. Forms, as you'd expect, anytime government funding is mentioned by anyone, there's a lot of forms to fill in, a few hoops to jump through. There's no getting around it, so we try to make bite-sized forms to kind of fit around the learner's workload. So it doesn't mean that they have to sit down for 4 hours and start filling in forms. they can fill in the forms in the workplace or in their own time. And we give them short bite-sized forms to work through. When one's finished, we can send them another one, or we can send them in batches, whichever works for the employer. We then have screening. So typically screening tests will be to gauge knowledge of English, maths and science for some of our apprenticeships. And this is where we kind of gauge the level that they're currently working at to see if any additional training or any functional skills courses are going to be required alongside. And then we have the skill scan, which is something that will take place with all apprenticeships. And this is where we kind of gauge their skills in relation to the learning outcomes of the program. So with a lot to learn in the program, we need to show there's enough learning for the learner throughout. And we see where they are. with their current set of knowledge, skills and behaviours. And then what we can do is see where we can reduce teaching if they're already knowledgeable in certain areas and provide more teaching where they might have some weaknesses. And on average, by doing the skill scan call, we can reduce the amount of off-the-job training hours by 20 to 30 hours whilst they're on programme by investing that time in the skill scan call at the start of the course. So it's investing early to save the learner time on programme. Go to the next slide, please. And then this is almost the equivalent for a designated workplace training supervisor. So as I say, there's some forms to fill in. We then go to screening invigilation. The screening invigilation is optional, and that's based on the employer's preferences. So if they would rather that the screening tests are invigilated, then we can facilitate that. If they'd rather not, that's absolutely fine. And what we call a workplace training supervisor course. So the workplace training supervisor, or WTS, will be given access to their own Beehive course, which will kind of outline their role and responsibilities throughout. And they'll complete a short assessment to show that they understand the responsibilities effectively. And we include a fitness practice form within there as well. So can I have the next slide, please? We now move on to the more exciting stuff. Manisha gets all the exciting stuff to talk about. So she's going to talk to you a bit about the Beehive, our online learning network, and our support network for learners.
Thank you, Will. So can we have the next slide, please? Thank you. So like I said earlier, Beehive is our bespoke online learning platform. This is a screenshot of how our Beehive dashboard looks like. So you can see the different courses that a learner might have signed up for. So within each course, the learner as well as the employer or the WTS will be able to see and track progress of each particular module to see where the learner is in terms of their learning journey, what needs to be completed, what sort of support do they need, everything. It's a one-stop shop solution for all their learning needs. Next slide, please. And the learner, in preparation for their gateway, they collect all the evidence of their learning and they store it inside their Beehive as a part of their e-learning portfolio, and which later gets assessed as well. Next slide, please. And yes, like I said, I keep coming back to this, that Buttercups believes that you are in safe hands. We are a family. We play by the rules, which means we are there to support you 100% from the time you join us until the time you keep growing in your journey, in your career. We have allocated tutors, one-to-one tutor support. In addition to that, we have dedicated learner support helpline and year-round support to learners. There's an exclusive team called the Learner Support Team for addressing any queries and concerns. Apart from this, we believe in inclusion and diversity, and there's a dedicated team called the Additional Learning Support Team, which has specialists who enhance the accessibility features for every learner. Any learning disability or difficulty, we ensure that the learner is able to break those barriers and achieve their full potential. We also offer pastoral care and support because, hey, life happens. It's quite difficult and it gets overwhelming to balance both life, learning, and work. So we have a team there to support all our learners. We also have a safeguarding and welfare team in place. Next slide, please. So this is an example of our safeguarding website. It's a separate website that we have that learners and employers and all of them can access. And on the right, you can see a small screenshot of the accessibility menu. So when a learner logs in or the WTS logs into the Beehive portal, you have this menu that you can access. And if you see there, for example, there's a dyslexia-friendly icon given there. So if by clicking on that, the website automatically becomes compatible and friendly, user-friendly for someone with dyslexia and different learning difficulties. So there are different accessibility features that have been designed by our specialists. Next slide, please. So yes, that brings me to the close of the presentation, but I will let Will take the cherry on the cake. So Will, over to you.
Thank you very much, Manisha. So a quick overview of why choose Buttercups. So if we're the right training provider for you, obviously people like to learn in different ways. We don't use a college model. We use 100% in the workplace model with no day release. So the largest pharmacy training provider in the industry and now part of the BPP Education Group, which widens our scope. We have a bespoke online learning platform, which Manisha showed you some screenshots of. We have live interactive classroom sessions, so we still have that face-to-face feel with them. I've already mentioned the off-the-job training and how there's no day release required for them, and we offer extensive support in order to make sure that those hours are accrued. We offer individual training plans, which can be adapted for each learner to suit their environment and suit their learning style. We have year-round enrolments, which means that people can enroll at any time. We have no set intake dates. Extensive support network, including pastoral support for learners. And because we're an online provider and we have our own bespoke platform, we can constantly update and reflect any changes in practice within our course. So within a few days of hearing of new policy, of new laws, we can incorporate those into our actual training program. So nothing else to say other than thank you again for listening to us. I hope we've not gone over. I think we might have gone over a couple of minutes. Apologies for that. And as I say, Mubashir, you can share our contact details and obviously copies of the slides to all those in attendance. And thank you very much for having us.
Brilliant, appreciated. Well, that's great. And Manisha, that's fantastic. And like I said, it will be recorded back anyway. Manisha, so they'll be able to watch it back. Some real great updates. Please utilize the chat function. I can see, I think Manisha's already been on the case. So any questions, any queries, any bits that you need clarification on, just put them in the chat function. And after we've heard from our very own Amajit as Skills for Pharmacy, and Jamie will probably go to the question and answer. And again, anything you're not sure about, please just add it into the chat, but we will open it up into the room. Over to yourselves, Amajit, if I can.
Thanks very much. Can everybody hear me okay? Superb, superb. First of all, thank you to all the contractors, all the pharmacy staff, pharmacy teams that are either here tonight. I literally closed my pharmacy, which is a 5-minute drive from here, at 6:20 to come to our Skills for head office. So I know summer months, short-staffed, it's a big effort to come on. And for those of you that are watching the recording later, I appreciate your time, really do. I want to thank Olivia as well for coming on and making the connection. But a big thank you must go out to Bash. Bash and I spoke in January about myth busting of apprenticeships. And true to his word, we've battled and battled, and we've got to this stage now where we can explain apprenticeship to our fellow contractors and our pharmacy teams across the Northwest, which is the big win of tonight. Could we go to the next slide, please? Very remiss of me, actually. The one other group that I must thank here is Buttercups as well. Buttercups have come down, represented brilliantly by 2 of their finer ambassadors, and put a really strong case together, and hopefully provided a lot of information on apprenticeships generally. I had a feeling they were going to do that, which is why this time of night and on a recording, I'd rather just talk pharmacy. At the end of the day, yes, I'm Amajit. I'm here. I'm the owner of Skills for. I'm a pharmacy contractor. Have been since before the start of this century, which you can work out my age from that. And I'm joined here by my ops director, Jamie. Jamie's been with us 3 years. He probably knows more about pharmacy than my 2 pharmacy managers put together. He's that good. But so who are we? Well, we are the only training provider out there that is owned by a community pharmacist. We are the only training provider out there that is owned by a pharmacy contractor. And we're based right here in the centre of Lancashire in Preston. As Will said earlier, ourselves and Buttercups, we're the 2 biggest, we're the 2 best. It's not us saying that. Ofsted have said it about both companies, good. And both companies have levels of outstanding aspects as well. The Department for Education say it as well. So it really is great that the 2 best are presenting to what I think is the best county in the country. Will's already talked with Manisha about apprenticeships, and I'm not going to go over that ground, A, because of the time, and B, because I want to talk about pharmacy. What's apprenticeship done to my pharmacies? This time last year, I had a pre-reg, I had PTPT funded technicians. Olivia's mentioned the funding's gone, but we are, as I'm sure Olivia is doing, lobbying NHS England and are waiting for an announcement on that. And I also had apprentices. I didn't do many services. And that was the difference in my pharmacy of running from a loss to a profit. Apprenticeships have had a direct impact on the bottom line of my pharmacies. Why is now the right time to be exploring apprenticeships? Because at the beginning of this year, the government bought out Pharmacy First. For the pharmacists that are on here, we all understand that our global sun is not going to change that much. We have to look beyond it. We have to look at services. 2 years from now, we've got IPs coming out. If we're going to make the best of those IPs and we're going to save pharmacy, we have to look at two aspects in particular. One is technology, and the other one is the skills mix. Apprenticeship plays a vital part in the skills mix, especially with the PGDs that are coming out. I'll try and veer back onto apprenticeships, but as you can tell, even though I may own one of the two biggest apprenticeship companies in the country, I'm a pharmacist first. I'm a pharmacy contractor first, and I always will be. If we can go to the next slide, please, Bash. So, as I said earlier, one of the two largest providers in the country, cover right across the country, based in Preston, well over 900 learners, closing on 1,000 learners. Massive team of pharmacists, ACTs, technicians. We are a pharmacy-led company made for pharmacy. We don't offer the e-learning solution because I've chose not to. Our USP and the reason why we are the fastest growing apprenticeship provider in this sector is because we are tutor-led. Every session isn't turn on a computer and then turn to a pharmacist and say, excuse me, can you explain to me what bipolar is? Or can you explain to me why amiodarone is given for Wolff-Parkinson-White syndrome? Because I, as a pharmacist, can't answer that question because I've got 35 baskets to check and 4 people wait for Pharmacy First, which is why we have tutors. If you ring the NPA up and say the word apprenticeship, they send you to us. If you're Alphega customers and you say the word apprenticeship, they send you to us. The list is endless of the connections that we are making. Olivia talks about enrolment. Will talks about enrolment. Our enrolment is second to none in the country. You're talking about a 5-day turnaround. Our recruitment is complimentary, and Olivia and Will have already talked about funding support. We can give you that. We've got deals that are ongoing at the moment with the likes of Amazon, etc., and we will be working closely with Olivia as well. Next slide, please. The industry challenges. Those of us who are in this sector, we know 200 pharmacies have shut this year. More pharmacies are closing than pubs. We have to do something about that. We have to embrace services. We say to all of our pharmacy clients, dispensing is essential, but it's not enough. It's not enough anymore. Bash rang me up about a year ago to say, Amaji, your pharmacies really aren't doing many services. You need to get them to pull the finger out. It was the changing point. We now do a whole array of services, but to do them effectively, you've got to free up the pharmacist time. You've got to think about your team, your skills mix. Those of us that work closely with GP surgeries will know doctors within GP surgeries do the high-end stuff, the high-fee stuff. Their teams manage the rest. We in pharmacy, the pharmacist does pretty much everything. That has to change. We have to understand the skills mix. One of the ways of overcoming that is thinking about apprenticeship now, particularly at technician level. Think about what's around the corner, 2026 IPs. Think about the PGDs that are coming out for technicians and how the dynamic will change. We have to embrace that change. Apprenticeship is one of the answers of that. Jamie will go through some of the recruitment costs and staff wages that we will sell, that you will save. Next slide, please. I think actually this way you take over, Jamie.
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you, Amajit.
Thank you very much.
So thanks for sort of sharing some of the sort of industry challenges, and I'm going to sort of maybe talk you through our apprenticeship programs, what we deliver, what we offer, and some of the benefits for choosing us and for choosing apprenticeships. So you've already heard from colleagues on the call, so I won't labour this point, but apprenticeships obviously have a huge benefit to pharmacies across the UK. Low cost, high impact, and of course I'm biased, but I do think we provide a fantastic level of service in the market. Go on to the next slide, Bash, that'd be great. So just to touch on the cost savings and the support provided for apprenticeships, Amajit alluded to supporting the bottom line of pharmacies that are struggling across the country. We believe apprenticeships are an enabler to support that. So wage costs for an apprentice in England is from £6.40 an hour. We wouldn't always advise to start at that level to attract the right level of candidates and to encourage retention of staff. But it is there as a minimum wage to support you to enable you to train the individual whilst they're employed by yourselves. We have no national insurance contributions for employees under 25 years of age, again supporting that cost saving model. A lot of colleagues have talked about the sort of government funding available, support for levy transfer. Those aged 21 or younger don't have to contribute, the employer doesn't have to contribute towards the cost of the training. So in most instances, 100% of the training is covered through a levy transfer or because of the age of the candidate. And then for those of you that take on 16 to 18-year-old apprentices, there's also £1,000 incentive to support you to guide them through their training programme for the year. We believe the package of support for pharmacies per employee is around £10,000 per person. So it's a huge package of support, sort of layered with government funding and grants available at different times throughout the year as well. It is really a huge enabler to support the bottom line. Just go on to the next slide, please. So some of the wider benefits. Amajit touched on the fact we offer a complimentary job posting, screening and placement support. So we have currently 150, 160 vacancies across the country, supporting pharmacies to recruit pharmacy technicians, pharmacy support workers, trainees in both areas. It's a very popular service. We have a team dedicated to finding candidates, and we have a fantastic pool of people looking to get into the pharmacy industry. So if nothing else, the recruitment support is a real door opener for people. Retention, we've touched on it earlier. Apprentices really support retention of staff in the workplace. You've got enough to be thinking about in your busy pharmacies than to think about recruiting staff and people leaving the organisation. So 80% of employers who invest in apprenticeships report higher staff retention, and 74% of our apprentices stay with their employer upon completion of their apprenticeship and beyond. And then it's also doing your bit for the industry, making sure we support the new generation to come into pharmacy and to support the sort of development and evolving industry that we're working in. Go on to the next slide, please. Thank you. So just talk you through some of the courses that we offer. So the first two are very similar to what you've heard from our colleagues at Buttercups today, a slightly different model of delivering. So our first one is our level 2 pharmacy assistant. It's a 12-month programme with a 3-month endpoint assessment period. Most of our apprentices complete within 13 months of being on programme. We have monthly enrolments, roll on, roll off throughout the year. We don't have sort of times throughout the year where you have to sort of put your cohorts forward and through with us. Amajit mentioned the tutor-led delivery. So we have fortnightly tutor-led delivery at level 2. So one of our tutors will guide your learners through their training programme. There'll be live sessions, very interactive and impactful, and supported by our learning management system that has lots of self-led learning and further bite-sized chunks of information for the learners to work through. Obviously meets the minimum competence requirements from the GPHC. We've got that direct accreditation with the GPHC. In terms of entry requirements, we don't have any formal entry requirements for our level 2 provision, and our level 2 provision as a standard includes medicines counter assistant and dispensing where required, and we'll flex and tailor our programme to meet the individual needs of pharmacy businesses. You know, whatever shape and size you come in, we will make sure that the model fits with your requirements. If we can move on to the level 3, that'd be great. So our level 3 provision, very similar again, sorry to go over our ground, but 24 months inclusive of endpoint assessment. So that's an integrated course, and we support with the endpoint assessment. We also have monthly enrolments on that provision. One slight difference from our level 2 is that we offer weekly tuition because of the depth of content that our programme goes into. We've recently revamped that, included lots of components of leadership management, clinical skills, making sure that pharmacy technicians are really fit for the future of pharmacy. So it's a really forward-thinking, innovative course that gives fantastic skills to learners, and obviously leads to GPHC registration that you would expect. Our entry requirements follow regulatory requirements, and we'll support you through that onboarding process to make sure that the screening and assessments completed for individuals to make sure that they're suitable for the course. As a standard, I'm not going to go through everything that our course delivers. I've touched upon a couple of things there, but importantly, accuracy checking is included as part of our programme as a standard. So every learner that completes our training programme will get that accuracy checking element included. And just move on to the last couple, please, Bash, if possible. So team leader, supervisor. So we implemented this course in the last 12 months through employer demand and feedback. Leadership skills are needed even more in a pharmacy environment. Adding services into the mix, there's more leadership required through your organisations to facilitate consultations and everything else that you're trying to manage at the moment. So our team leader, supervisor apprenticeship is a 12-month training programme. Regular intakes for that provision as well. Very popular at the moment with contractors and with the NHS employers. And our programme is in line with the Institute of Leadership and Management and maps to their standards, so provides learners with problem solving, organisational development, financial management, leadership coaching, sort of conflict management. It's a wide-ranging programme. Again, we work with employers to make sure that's a bespoke offer and to make sure that it fits the needs of your pharmacy. And there's no formal entry requirements as well for that provision, but we'll work with you to make sure the learners are suitable before they onboard. And just on to our last one, please, if possible. So really excited to be able to sort of share our skills bootcamp provision. So again, something to us within the last 18 to 24 months. Many of you will have heard the sort of skills bootcamp initiative in the press and the purpose of that. So we have been awarded £1.5 million worth of funding across the UK to deliver pharmacy skills training to those that are unemployed and those that are looking to change careers to support them into a pharmacy career. So learners will receive 120 guided learning hours or 10 weeks worth of training. They'll get insight into a pharmacy environment through different pharmacy employers. Lots of role models and guest speakers coming in to really sort of ignite that fire in people and trying to really get the best people into the pharmacy environment. It covers a broad range of topics, but a real good introduction to the pharmacy environment, legislation, regulation, professional practice, And what we believe this program really does for us is it supports us to make sure that that individual is right for your pharmacy before we place them in there for you. We make sure that we've got a fantastic individual that really wants to get into the pharmacy industry, who's got that fire, who's going to really hit the ground running and support your pharmacy business moving forward. So we've been awarded funding in the Lancashire region. And we're working with tens and tens of young people and adults to support them into pharmacy careers. So we're really looking for employers to get involved with us to support them into employment, which is the end goal there. If we could just move on to the next slide if possible, and I'll hand over to Amajit just to close our presentation.
Thanks, guys. I hope that our rather quick whistle-stop tour of the world of apprenticeship has ignited some interest. We, as pharmacy people, are facing challenges like we've never had before. I've been a contractor for over 25 years. Technology and skills mix is the answer. One of the fundamental core elements of the skills mix and understanding the skills mix, both today and going forward to future-proof our pharmacies, is apprenticeship. It really is. The best staff that I've got in my pharmacy, who are now ACTs, because if you do our course, you become an ACT, there's no bolt-on required, started off as apprentices. My best ambassadors have gone through the apprenticeship program. They will be with me now for the next 10, 15 years. Think about your workforce of tomorrow. And that's what apprenticeship brings, your workforce of tomorrow. If you invest in young people now, you will see the benefits in your tomorrows and the difference it will make to your pharmacy when you're considering the changes that are being brought in by this government and what we'll need to bring in. Because as I said earlier, the global sum is not going up. It's going to be all about freeing the pharmacist's time so he can do high fee earning jobs. And let's not also forget about the importance of our ACTs. ACTs are also GPHC registered. So think about what you need in your pharmacy. Think about the skills mix. An apprentice who you've invested in will pay you back 10, 20, 30 fold. I can say this because I've done it. It's now up to you guys. You can contact me, you can contact any of our team. Our details are on the slides that follow. We won't necessarily go through all of those slides because I think you've been on this call long enough, guys. But thank you once again for coming on at 8 o'clock at night on a warm summer's day, as it is here in Preston. Thank you very much again, Bash, to have the vision to try and bring the best outcomes that he can. I think Kath's on this call as well. So everyone at Community Pharmacy Lancashire, let me assure you, everyone who's on here from pharmacy, we work closely with community pharmacy leads from other regions around the country, and we do these webinars regularly. The work that Community Pharmacy Lancashire and South Cumbria do in the background is a credit to all of us. So thank you once again. As I said, we have got slides which talk about case studies, and I think Bash will send them on to you.
That'll be fantastic, Amajit, and much appreciated to all sort of presenters. We are going to just open it up for any final sort of questions. I think I've just seen the chat function. It looks as though we may have answered the relevant questions that have appeared thus far. But first of all, let's just open it up to the floor in case anybody just wants to raise their hand, ask any particular question, any queries. We've got the specialists with us today. If there's anything particular that stands out, I'll just open it up to the floor. Just raise your hand and we'll bring you in to ask the relevant question. Fabulous. I think we've covered off plenty of detail. All questions answered, I hope. I'm sure there may be something that comes up afterwards. I'm having a quick look. I think that's Jamie saying a massive thanks on the website details and contact details. We will send out all the contact information just for reference and all the key links. We'll pick those all out of the slide decks. We'll put it on our website as everything else. And we'll also get the recording onto our YouTube channel, which again is watched back many a time, especially since we've had the unfortunate unrest over the last month. There's been several issues that we've had to deal with, contractors, the GP sort of adjustments and changes as well. So we still felt it was just so critical and crucial to progress with this and have a recording available to watch back that we felt it was still right to continue and go ahead into this evening. So on that note, I think there's no further final questions. I'd just like to express again a massive thank you to everyone who's been on the call. They're fantastic presenters, some cracking knowledge base there. And I think it's just so crucial that the narrative is so strong that this is an important element. And we just need to get the message out to all contractors. Because I've spoken to several contractors who've been supported with buttercups, who've been supported by Skills for Pharmacy and the ICB, and they all suggest the same thing. I was unaware to start off with. I was unaware. Once I'd realised the benefits, I was like, why have I not done this before? It's crazy. And they're sat there saying, I can't recruit people, I can't find anyone, I can't afford it. Well, I think the guys today have expressed it quite vividly and straight to you that this is of huge benefit. And that is the message we will now get out. So bang on, look at that. Just over the hour. I will wish you all well, much appreciated. And we will stop the recording, and much appreciated to everyone. Any further questions, please come back to us or any of the presenters tonight. Thank you very much to everyone. Appreciate it. Take care and have a good evening. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks. Take care, guys.